Coming up on the front line of Grime, a mystery muck spreader causes havoc in Harrow.
Catch him. Yeah, we'll do our best. Bang to rights, absolutely.
Waste sorters reveal the ridiculous items people think they can recycle.
That's about 2,000 nappies every day.
And safely chuck in the bin.
That will start a fire.
While Grime fighters in picture-perfect North Devon.
That is how beautiful this part of the world is. And then people do that.
Bring the fight against filth to the doorstep.
In cases like this, you're looking at £1,400, £1,500 fine.
Across the country, councils spend a staggering £58 million of taxpayers' money every year clearing up after filthy...
Oh, why do people do this?
Lazy...
One person fly tipping, it's like a magnet really, unfortunately.
Criminal...
This is organised crime, and I'd guarantee it'd be jail time if we could find out who it was.
And downright idiotic...
A bit silly to leave your name and address on a fly tip, innit?
fly tippers and little outs.
We need to catch people that are doing this. That is absolutely disgusting.
And catching them in the act takes a particular brand of enthusiasm.
I have a passionate hatred of fly tippers.
Men and women whose passion for the environment...
That is just...
It's one of the problems, isn't it?
Horrible.
And hatred of those who defile it...
We'll definitely get them. They will not get away with this.
...knows no bounds.
If that means me dressing as a tree, I'll do it. I don't care.
And in the northwest London borough of Harrow, at the crack of dawn, Enforcement Officer Joe is just such a man.
Fly tippers they're a blight on society. They have no respect for the area they live in, and they don't care. And they're very, very selfish people. And I severely dislike them. And hope to capture as many of them as possible.
Former taxman, turned parking officer, turned football referee, turned waste enforcement evangelical, Joe uses the tried and tested zero tolerance on his patch.
It is domestic household waste. It smells quite bad. There's rotten food. Oh, it's nasty. You've got general food waste. What looks like we have some evidence. Unfortunately, the clever people, have erased the label, scratched it off to try to prevent us identifying where the waste came from.
They might think they're being clever.
Is this soil nappies? You can see the maggots are starting to grow on it. Look, this is, yeah, soil nappies.
But not clever enough for Joe.
No, potentially there might be evidence in this. Perfect, perfect. This is exactly. So you've got a medicine package. It's addressed to a resident at a property not very far from here.
After 5 years tracking down Harrow's waste criminals, Joe doesn't muck about.
Nope. Pretty sure there's nobody at home, unfortunately. At this point in time, I'm going to issue them with a fixed penalty notice of £150 for littering. They have to pay the fixed penalty notice or be prosecuted.
And when Harrow's investigation team recently found themselves dealing with an out-of-control fly tipper...
This is the guy that's been going on nearly 9 months. It's just unacceptable behaviour. Kick the bag open, split it. This guy shows no total disregard for everybody, for everything, anyone in the vicinity.
Joe was the obvious choice of Grime's sleuth.
We started receiving complaints about 9 months ago. Initially, the opinion was that bags were being left down and the waste was being scattered by foxes. That's a public service road, and you've got a primary school, and parents and kids use that service road to walk up and down to get to school. There's been reports of dead rats in the service road because they've been run over by vehicles. And kids having to see that, plus the potential for germs and nastiness. We had a tip-off from a local business that they had footage that showed that this act was being committed by a person. So we're looking at the footage of an unknown gentleman. You see him put down some waste and you see him scatter the waste right across the service road. This is, I mean, I've never, ever seen anything like this in my life. He makes it, you know, you can see he clearly makes a deliberate attempt to disguise himself using a hoodie, so he doesn't want to be seen.
So Joe will need to find a way to catch his muck-spreading nemesis in the act.
My aim is to deal with this by way of the maximum penalty. In my opinion, this kind of behaviour deserves a prison sentence.
Handling criminal fly tips like this is a huge task for councils across the country. But even when we're responsible with our waste, the 31 million tonnes of household refuse and more than 6 million tonnes of dry recycling created in the UK every year are an extraordinary challenge. Because as landfill space runs out, sorting the treasure from the trash is more important than ever.
We're very busy, trying to keep on top of the hundreds of tonnes that are coming our direction.
And here at Cambridge's 400-acre Waterbeach Waste Management Park,
you just pull up to the ones to the left-hand side next to the bridge, mate, please.
Operations boss, 30-year-old Fran, runs an army of salvage hunters sorting 100,000 tonnes of recycling a year.
Hi, Max.
Hey, Fran.
How's it going?
Not too bad.
Good shift today?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
OK. All right, it's nice and warm in here.
While co-manager, 30-year-old Andy, works to reduce the levels being buried in the ground.
Should we just run through the usual? Yeah?
Sounds good.
OK.
Running this site starts with a daily briefing, and first on the agenda today...
What have you got? Oh.
1 and 2.
An explosive present for Fran.
OK. Wow.
Nice little fires.
So where did you find these?
On the landfill cell, freshly tipped waste.
Right, OK.
So, and as you can see, they flared up really nicely.
Yeah.
And they soon spread very quick. So,
yeah.
Luckily we spotted them, put them out straight away, but it's getting a nightmare with these.
Recycling centres deal with over 300 fires a year, many of which are caused by carelessly disposed of batteries.
The most problematic item that we see through the plant on a daily basis is lithium-ion batteries or car batteries, things that are really quite specifically dangerous to the team that work here and could cause a fire.
And as Andy heads off to the landfill...
Safe week.
Yeah,
See you later.
Andy, bye.
And Fran heads to the recycling hub.
This is our reception hall area. We get 300 tonnes delivered every day from dust carts and from all across the local authority area.
Everyone knows they need to keep an eye out for unwanted hazards in the waste.
The kind of things that we're not after are strange metal objects that might cause blockages in machinery. You know, old dog beds are probably not the most ideal thing.
The first step in separating trash from treasure is to open the annoying bags it arrives in.
So what we've got behind us is the bag opener, and it does what it says on the tin. It opens up bags.
From here, the rubbish is taken through a maze of conveyor belts on a high-tech sorting process.
What we want is really loose material because it means that we can then access everything and recycle as much as possible.
Magnets will catch the cans. Sensors are able to identify and separate plastic from paper, and infrared technology identifies different types of plastic.
This is mixed paper on this line here, so anything that's not mixed paper we're trying to remove.
At every stage, an army of eagle-eyed workers are tasked with spotting any items the machines might have missed.
On the line here, this is probably 5 to 7 tonnes per hour. We're looking for any value, so aluminiums, steel cans, plastics. We want to resend those back to where they should be.
But despite most people's efforts to make recycling as easy to handle as possible, an astonishing 1 in 10 parents believe these can be recycled.
There was 14 of these in 5 minutes. So that's about 2,000 nappies every day.
And while their contents might be organic, they just don't belong here.
You can contaminate all of this paper, and actually we need clean paper to be able to turn into new product, and if there's a nappy in there, then that's really difficult to do that.
Bales of recycled paper can end up in landfill if nappy hazards like this get into the system, meaning the recycling efforts of entire streets can go to waste. Coming up, the full danger of hazardous waste is laid bare.
That is what you don't want.
No.
That will start a fire.
And Joe is out for justice in Harrow.
I want to catch the perpetrator, and I want to punish him to the full extent of the law.
In the North London borough of Harrow.
Hello.
former taxman turned waste enforcement officer Joe
You just dumped a black bag here. Yeah, why did you put it there?
has been successfully tracking down fly tippers for years.
Take this. Over there. Over there.
But of all his cases, none have been as taxing as a recent encounter with a phantom filth spreader.
So we're at a publicly owned service road that runs up the side of a school. Here we have we've had incidents of continuous fly tipping. The waste was being scattered across the road, which was attracting foxes and rats. We had one of our deployable CCTV cameras installed on the lamppost just behind me. Over the course of a number of weeks, we captured the offence being committed. In all my years doing this job, I've never, ever come across something. To say I'm not normally lost for words, but with this one, I am lost for words.
The pin-sharp pictures reveal the mystery muck spreader was taking rubbish out of residential bins, ripping it up and scattering it in an illegal act of fly tipping.
We discovered that it was actually a deliberate act by a persons unknown who came out of a building here with bags of waste and then proceeding to put the bags down and scatter them with his foot right across the little service road. It was a deliberate and intentional and malicious act. The unknown individual committed these offences on 9 separate occasions that we have captured on CCTV. It happens in around 4 in the morning. On occasions, the person comes out of the building without any waste, goes into these residential bins, takes waste from the residential bins and proceeds to scatter that across the service road. I want to catch the perpetrator and I want to punish him to the full extent of the law.
Suddenly, a figure emerges from the premises Joe believes the suspect works at.
So somebody just popped their head out of one of the doors of the building where the perpetrator of the offences came from. And my first reaction is, that is the gentleman that I am looking for. I would like nothing better than to walk into this building right now and potentially identify the suspect and drag him out and bring him up to my office and interview him to explain why he has committed the offences. But that would obviously potentially jeopardise any investigation and any enforcement action, that legal action that might be taken against him. But that was him.
Despite his passion, Joe knows the heart should never rule the mind in matters of grime crime.
We've identified where it's come from, but because it's a business and they have approximately 25 employees, we need to determine which of the employees was on duty on each of the 9 occasions. In order for me to get that information, I've served a Data Protection Act request on the company to provide me with that information. So hopefully, within the next short while, I will have the names and addresses of everybody who was on duty on those 9 occasions.
The clock is ticking for the phantom fly tipper because Joe always gets his man.
I think this is a significant case, and I think it's certainly one that merits a prosecution. It merits the individual being brought up before magistrates and the magistrates using the full extent of the law to dish out an appropriate punishment, which can be a prison sentence. My aim is that he pays for his actions.
Joe spends his days investigating criminals who refuse to put their refuse in their bins. While the staff at the Waterbeach Waste Management Park in Cambridgeshire handle 400,000 tonnes of waste that did make it to the bin. Just not always the right one.
There was 14 of these in 5 minutes.
For landfill manager Andy, the most important task of the day is checking the waste for fire risks.
Right, so we're at the construction and demolition yards, and this is where we make sure that the waste is adequate before we send it to landfill. So we're going to have a look at what's come in, make sure it's acceptable, hasn't got any nasties in it as much as possible, and that, as you can see, suitable that we can take it in the dumpers to the landfill. You ready? You go have a look at this load. You see the amount of mattresses coming in on this? Yeah. We need to get the mattresses out. We don't want a dumper on fire today. So what we've got is prop shafts on the dumpers. The batch just comes up, wraps around really tight, and the prop shaft inside starts spinning and we end up with a fire.
Thanks to the surging trend of online companies offering free deliveries and trials of mattresses, they're a growing nightmare. Difficult to recycle, over 160,000 tonnes of them fill valuable landfill space every year.
Another mattress, another mattress.
But as they tally them up, Andy's colleague Dwayne spots something that could send Fort Mattress up in flames.
Well done.
Just them three, look.
These AAs may look harmless, but the 600 million batteries used in the UK every year are a threat across the entire plant.
Someone's obviously recycled their laptop here. It contains a lithium-ion battery as well.
Containing hazards like lead, lithium and even mercury, there is significant fire risk, requiring specialist recycling. But despite this, 30,000 of them were discovered on this site alone last year.
It's a car battery. If that goes through the plant, we're in a bit of trouble there.
If damaged, an exothermic reaction, where they get hotter and hotter, can cause them to smoulder and even explode. This bin lorry arrived on site, already suffering the impact of a thoughtlessly discarded battery. While this battery fire on the recycling line proved just how important safety measures are at the plant.
If we were to have a fire in a sorting cabin like this, what we would do is pull an e-stop line here. So that creates a total plant shutdown.
Okay, let's have a look at the other side.
Outside, Andy makes sure there's no more fire starters lurking in Mattress Mountain.
Doesn't look too bad. There's a fridge door there that needs to be pulled out.
Identifying any rubbish that doesn't belong means Andy can save on valuable landfill space, but he still has a mission to complete.
We're now going to go up to the capped area of the landfill, which is where we've already filled, completed, and it's now settling for restoration. So go have a look at the lead-shaped wells, where the dirty, nasty water collects.
From working on the top of a landfill site to protecting the rugged coast of North Devon.
Look, that is how beautiful this part of the world is, and then people do that.
Waste enforcers have to be prepared to work anywhere.
There's quite a lot of evidence here of relatively new items being fly tipped.
Meet Alan and Ray.
You all right, Al?
Two former law enforcers who like environmental criminals about as much as they do wasps in their cream teas.
Okay. Yeah, not bad, not bad.
And today, Alan is first out of the traps after a call to the office reported a fly tip nearby.
We do have a beautiful place to live, and most people do respect that. But there are a few people out there who just don't give a damn, and they'll just get rid of their waste wherever they can.
Environmental enforcer Alan has lived a life in uniform.
Left home at 16, joined the military, did 5 years in the armed forces. I then was lucky enough to join the police service, and then later on I joined Devon and Somerset Fire and Rescue Service. And it isn't a uniform fetish, it's just the way it worked out.
He may have swapped his shoulder stripes for a fleece, but he hasn't lost his passion for getting stuck into the wrong uns.
We're just going to a random fly tips site which has been reported to our customer services. It's on the outskirts of Barnstable, down a quiet lane. And I say random because there seems to be some random items of fly tip pins. Looks like fencing or a bit of a sofa, and a snooker or a billiard table.
But with just 2 enforcers covering the district's 419 square miles, Alan often leverages people power in pursuit of the fly tippers.
What we tend to do here is if we find something identifiable and somebody somewhere will recognise it. So what we do is, and we might do that in this case, what we'll do is we'll put it on our website and just put it out locally and find out if anybody recognises the items and to get in touch.
Keen to keep his rural idyll idyllic, Alan brings the clean-up crew with him to the first site of the day.
Okay, looks like a bed and a chair.
But are there any items in this dump the public could help trace?
So it's quite a distinctive faux pas leather settee with a billiard table, which somebody may recognise.
Fake leather sofas or embarrassing social mistakes. Let's just hope Alan consults a dictionary before putting his description live on the web.
There's no reason why any of this stuff couldn't have been taken to the recycle centre. They wouldn't have been charged for this. This is normal household waste that can be disposed of free of charge. OK, so there's no evidence as such. We'll load it on.
Last year, North Devon spent almost £40,000 clearing up more than 650 small domestic tips, blighting the gorgeous countryside. But with no clear evidence to go on, enforcers have to get creative with their investigations.
It's an unusual sofa bed, and the distinctive blue billiard table. Somebody might recognise it.
Alan also employs the more traditional method of putting fly tippers off.
So I'm just going to put up one of these standard fly tipping signs to alert anybody that if they do decide to do it again, we can use CCTV to catch them.
With the signs up, it's time to return to base to see if an appeal to the public can help identify the criminal dumper.
OK, so send. Hopefully they'll come through shortly, and then we can get them onto our website and start investigations that way. Somebody might say they saw somebody with those items.
With the evidence logged and the appeal loaded onto the website, there's just time to update colleague Ray on the specifics of the dodgy fake leather sofa.
Blue billiards table and a bit of a kinky black sofa. Faux pas leather sofa.
While the dumper of this faux leather sofa has committed an environmental offence, Alan's crimes against the English language remain under review.
Faux pas leather sofa, did you say?
Yeah, faux pas, you know, what do you call them? Faux...
A faux leather sofa.
That's it.
Yeah. Faux pas is what you just made.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Coming up, the battle against filth takes to the water.
It's pretty unusual to find a bathtub in a canal.
And how tech separates the treasure from the trash.
This machine is amazing. It's identifying the plastics and making them jump over so that they can go on for quality control at the end.
Every year, we throw away an astonishing 31 million tonnes of household rubbish. And as landfill starts to run out...
So, far in cell, we're filling. Got about another 6 months left in there.
Recycling more and burying less is a priority for the waste industry.
We're looking for any value, so aluminiums, steel cans, plastics. We want to resend those back to where they should be.
And the waste that does end up in the ground needs careful handling to protect the environment.
We stood on one of the older landfills. We stood on around about 15, 20 metres depth of waste, and we're about to measure the bin juice, if you like, the sort of stuff that collects in the bottom of your bin.
As waste is buried, it decomposes, and rain then turns it into a liquid known as leachate.
We're going to see what levels we've got inside the leachate well. Don't want leachate seeping out or causing any environmental issues into water courses or anything.
Depending on what's in the landfill site, this bin juice can contain all sorts of potentially hazardous material, posing a risk to the environment.
These pipes collect the bin juice or leachate, and it then gets tankered off-site for after treatments. We're currently 11.29 metres from the top edge. So we compare that to what we know the bottom of the well is, minus that equals the level of the leachate. And then we know how much more we need to extract and how long this pump should be running for.
And while Andy makes sure the bin juice is being pumped off-site for treatment, Fran's checking the recycling technology across the rest of the plant.
This material has already been around the whole plant, so we've taken out all the hazardous items, we've removed all of the contamination that we don't want to see, and then it ends up here for a final sort with our optical near-infrared sorters.
Infrared beams detect different grades of plastic, while strategic puffs of air push them into separate bins.
This machine is amazing. So this particular machine is looking for PET clear items. It's identifying them and making them jump over so that they can go on for quality control at the end.
So as little as possible goes to waste.
What we've got here is our Tetra Pak, or beverage cartons. These are foil lined and they go for reprocessing in Halifax. You can see this is our grade HDPE Jazz. This goes up to Scotland actually, and that gets reflaked and turned into new plastic bottles. This is aluminium, and this stays within the UK to get flaked and processed back into new aluminium cans or roofs or cars or aeroplanes.
By preventing runoff escaping into the environment, well-run landfills help protect waterways running the length and breadth of the UK. From the grandfather Thames to the tiniest of tributaries, our canals and rivers are the lifeblood of this great nation.
Being by the water is so nice. It's incredible how a small amount of litter it does just to ruin the whole ambience of the place.
But our reliance on them doesn't stop us treating them appallingly.
Instead of taking it to the tip like everyone else would do. It's just laziness, isn't it?
And today, our rivers and canals are clogged with the effluent of modern life.
Near enough, you name it, whatever anybody wants to dump away in the river, I find it.
But across our waterways, there's a call to arms.
It looks like somebody's lost their pants here, or at least some of their pants.
And an army of volunteers are pulling the plug on the filth.
It frustrates me when I see that sort of rubbish on the towpath because I know that that rubbish is ending up in the water itself.
Near Hackney, East End grime buster Giles Williams and his team of volunteers from the Canal and River Trust have been tasked with clearing a particularly filthy stretch of the canal.
Are you OK for the lock to be filled? So today we're taking this boat here up to the Hertford Union Canal, back it down to the locks. It's one of Britain's shortest canals. It's only 1.5 miles long. But there's a few particular spots on here where we've got rough sleeping sites, burnt out bits of rubbish. Those sites we'd like to clear and have it looking like a pleasant place to visit.
With more than 2,000 miles of waterways, many running through the most heavily populated areas in the country, the Trust's army of volunteers focus on protecting these delicate habitats from the plague of fly-tip filth.
A big crowd at the locks.
At just 1.5 miles long, the canal's towpath is hugely popular with walkers and bike riders.
Do you want to show me what you want to move?
So it's essential it's kept free of hazards.
Is that a tent?
And the first problem of the day, a makeshift camp. Removing this tent may appear heartless, but Giles and his team are following the law.
As long as it's empty. The number of homeless people is increasing all the time, and we get a lot of it. If it was clear who this belonged to, we'd probably have to go through a legal process to get rid of it. But they've evidently abandoned the site, it's been burned. I'll get another one behind that one.
More than 250 homeless encampments like this were removed by councils in 2018.
If you can stick it in a ton bag, that would be ideal. This is where some unfortunate person was sleeping. We are obviously cautious about possibly finding needles or syringes in this sort of rubbish.
And the best way to get rid of it
Just need a little confab with Richard.
is to use the canal for what it was built for.
I think there's one over by Christine as well. Oh, that smells ripe. Yeah.
With the towpath cleared,
Right, let's have a word.
next on the agenda, pulling the filth from the murky depths.
Right, let's have a fish.
So boats and wildlife can travel unhindered.
It's pretty heavy. I just want to make sure that I've actually got it first. Mind out. At least the plug's out. Okay. It's pretty unusual to find a bathtub in a canal. I mean, down here, it's a monthly occurrence to find a stolen scooter that someone's dumped in the canal. But instead, we've got a bathtub. You got it? Okay, you're on your own on there. We've actually cleared a lot more than we were expecting. We've got maybe going up to 4 tonnes And because of that, the boat's now full. We're going to have to load it into a rubbish barge, a hopper.
It may have been a fruitful day for Giles and the team, but from the fight to beat the filth in the waterways of East London to the battle to protect the beauty of North Devon, Enforcer Alan's on the trail of dastardly dumpers defiling the district.
I'm off to a report of fly tipping to a little village just outside of Barnstaple. And we've had a report from a member of the public that a lot of black bags and other household waste has been deposited outside their driveway.
Black bag fly tips are an increasing problem for councils all over the country in the wake of changes to the frequency of bin collections. Unhygienic and unsightly in inner cities, but a blot on the landscape for a tourist spot like North Devon.
So we'll just pop out there and have a look and see if there's any evidence we can find, and if we can trace anybody to that fly tipping, and then take it from there.
Arriving at the Grime scene, ex-copper Alan treats it like a criminal investigation, looking for any clues that might hint to the origin of the waste.
So what I'm going to do now is just go through it, have a look, see if there's anything of interest, see if we've got any evidence, and then take it from there.
And there's no substitute for a hands-on investigation, so Alan gets stuck right in.
OK, so straight away I can see there's lots of clothing, evidence of paint. There's a lot more paint in here, and potentially that's quite important because that specific type of paint, and if I was managed to trace somebody at an address, obviously I've got the colours of their walls potentially there, so that would help. That's a country grey, actually, it says.
So what sort of picture does this evidence paint of the suspect?
It looks to me like somebody's having a bit of a house clearance, and they've just decided to take advantage of these bins here and put the rest there. It's still an offence of fly tipping. It's not acceptable.
While the paint could prove useful, what Alan really needs is an address.
It also looks like... Oh, that's some evidence. So in the top of the bag is some evidence in relation to an address a couple of miles that way, a small village in North Devon.
Bingo! It looks like this careless dumper has just scheduled a door knock with an ex-copper.
I've got some evidence in relation to who may well have deposited it. Either we will be issuing a fixed penalty notice, a fine, or we might have to go to court.
Having got what he came for, Alan sanctions the Grime scene for a deep clean.
Come on, you lazy git!
But the war on waste is a never-ending battle.
I would say there's probably another 3 bins full of household waste there, which the council wouldn't take anyway on a weekly collection. There's just too much. If everybody produced that amount of waste every week or every fortnight, we'd never get off the ground. We'd never get rid of it. That's probably a month's worth of a normal collection.
With the dirty work done, Alan can turn to the serious business of what he does best, enforcement.
From this collection of fly tipping, I've got a number of articles. So basically, I'll just put that in an evidence bag. There's also some information here in relation to a dog with a microchip code. And again, the address is the same house. So all in all, quite a lot of evidence in relation to one pile of fly tipping. Sadly, they haven't been very clever, but it'd be interesting to find out what their explanation is.
With such compelling evidence, it feels like the suspect has painted themselves into a corner. Coming up, has Joe finally caught the phantom muck spreader?
I am absolutely ecstatic. I was prepared for worst case scenario, having to interview up to 25 people. But this is beyond what I expected back.
And Alan serves up some doorstep justice in North Devon.
So when I told her how much it was going to be, £400, she said, oh my gosh, oh my golly, I didn't realise it'd be that much.
Back in North Devon,
It looks to me like somebody's having a bit of a house clearance. Oh, I have some evidence.
And after finding an address in a rural fly tip,
that's probably a month's worth of a normal collection.
ex-copper Alan believes he has a cut and dry case and is hot on the heels of a criminal dumper.
I've found some evidence that's relevant to a local resident. I've got quite a few pieces relating to the same lady, so I'm now just going to go and speak to her. It's likely that if she admits it, then I can offer her a fixed penalty. If she doesn't admit it, I believe I've got sufficient evidence to take this to court and let the magistrates decide.
But it's not just all about enforcement. In a bid to prevent his patch being polluted in the future, Alan is a big advocate of environmental education.
I want to ask her some questions about how this refuse ended up where it did and why, and I might be able to explain to her the error of her ways. I might be able to give her some pointers and education for the future so it doesn't happen again.
Unfortunately, on this occasion, this flagrant fly tipper won't get away with just a strong reprimand.
The fixed penalty for fly tipping in North Devon is currently £400. Put that in context with if we had to go to court, you could be looking at anywhere between £500 or £600 in costs and removal fees, plus victim surcharges that the court apply, and also the fine, which could be another £500. So for fly tipping, generally speaking, in cases like this, you're looking at £1,400, £1,500 fine.
The strong penalties reflect the severity of the crime, as well as the cost of the clean-up. And it falls on frontline filth fighters like Alan to break the bad news. Visiting the suspect's home, he's able to issue a fixed penalty notice and warn them they've got 10 days to pay or face a court appearance.
I can understand it from their position, but ultimately I've explained to her that we had a complaint, and this is North Devon, and I've got a duty to carry it through.
And with the notice served, it seems Alan's hunch about the fly tip was accurate.
As I suspected, they are actually moving house. They are having a clear out. They have tried to get rid of some of their waste. Just seem like they've got a few things going on. It looks quite a stressful household. There's a lot of packing going on. They're still working. They're moving out of the area. And without going into too much detail, I suspect there's quite a bit of stress.
But no matter what the excuse, if you choose to fly tip, the cost will always catch up with you.
When I told her how much it was going to be, £400, she said, oh my gosh, oh my golly, I didn't realise it'd be that much. But ultimately, we need to follow that through.
From justice in North Devon to the pursuit of a mystery dumper in North London, Harrow's waste investigation enforcer Joe has spent months trying to identify a secretive...
He clearly makes a deliberate attempt to disguise himself using a hoodie.
...repeat fly tipper.
The unknown individual committed these offences on 9 separate occasions captured on CCTV.
Who's brought havoc to the school run.
Parents and children have been walking by where there's rats running up. There's been reports of dead rats in the service road because they've been run over by vehicles. And kids having to see that.
And taxed the whole team's patience.
Catch him. Yep, we'll do our best. Bang to rights. Absolutely. Throw the book at him.
But after 9 painstaking months, Joe's investigative perseverance is close to paying off.
We're looking at the footage of unknown gentlemen coming out of a building, a business building. You see him put down some waste and you see him scatter the waste right across the service road.
Having installed a mobile CCTV camera to monitor the site, the footage revealed the repeat offender apparently taking out his anger on other people's rubbish.
So this is another incident that we captured. This is a different date we captured on camera. You can clearly see a male approximately between 5'11" and 6 foot. You see him taking some waste out of one of the residential bins, putting it on the ground. That's 2 or 3 bags. He proceeds to rip the bags. Now you see him kick the waste, scatter it right across the service road.
Joe might not be any closer to solving the mystery of why the man attacks the rubbish, but thanks to the frequency of the offences, he did identify the business premises the suspect was emerging from.
We invited the director of the company who owns the business to come in to view the footage for the purposes of identifying the perpetrator. But he was unable to positively identify the person in the footage.
The company employs 25 people, but after 9 months, Joe wasn't going to be put off that easily.
I served a data protection request on the business for details of which employees were on duty on specific dates that we are aware that the offences were being committed. There were 9 specific dates. I have just received an email back from the company with details of all employees that were on duty. Now what I need to do is I need to go through it, identify which names were on duty on each specific date.
And within a few minutes of crunching dates, Joe believes he has 2 potential suspects.
On the 28th of November 2019, there was only 3 individuals working on that date, so we can rule everybody else out. There is only 2 names that correspond that actually were working on each of the other dates. So we've now narrowed it down from potentially 25 to 2. I'm ecstatic. I am absolutely ecstatic. I was prepared for worst case scenario, having to interview up to 25 people. But this is beyond what I expected back. When we interview them, I will know. I will view the footage, I will see them, I will know, and they will not be able to deny that this is them on camera. So one of these 2 individuals is the culprit, and I'm close to catching them.
I'm not happy that it's starting to be used again, so we need to sort of nip it in the bud.
CCTV, without it, we would not be able to pursue this. So it's been brilliant for us.
Next time.
If we catch them, they get fixed penalty notices. End of.
Enforcers in Braintree lay down the law.
It's fly tipping, right, so the fixed penalty notice is £400.
It is just absolutely disgusting.
Big Bertha, the fridge fragmenter, brings a recycling plant to a standstill.
We're going to have to take the plant down.
It's not the best timing. It's not the best timing at all, no.
And in Hounslow,
Oh, look at this now. Look at this waste, even on the floor, mate.
enforcers investigate a filthy back passage.
It's very dirty, yeah?
Horrendous.
Yeah.